Dear students of 9A and 9B, I shall teach you lesson the Election Commission and elections under the following heads. The points mentioned in the board, as per the points, I shall teach you. Number 1, the first point mentioned in the board, fixing the dates for the election. Fixing the dates for the election means election commission is supposed to fix the date of the elections. But in that case, the election commission is supposed to consult the political parties and their leaders, and of course, head of the administration of government level, and teachers of different schools, whether they get themselves available during election, whether there is any exam, whether there is any exam for the students, whether they all get themselves available as polling officer. So, and besides weather condition, political situation of the country. So these all are the things. These all are important things. The election commission has to consider, and then the election commission and its head, chief election commissioner, declares the dates of the election. That means before fixing the dates, the election commission has to find out whether there is any kind of political tension in the country, whether there is any weather or atmosphere is good, whether teachers are and other officers who are working in the government level available during election. So after making it confirm that everything is all right, the election commission declares the dates of the votes. And next one, filling and scrutiny of nomination papers. Filling and scrutiny of nomination papers. The candidates who generally contest elections, they are asked to fill in their nomination papers and file it, so that the election commission can make a scrutiny of that particular information they have given. But if the information given in the nomination paper go wrong, prove to be wrong, in that case the candidature can be cancelled by the election commission. That means the election commission, before filling in the nomination paper, the candidate has to be careful regarding the informations he is going to give to the commission, right or wrong. If he gives any wrong information regarding his candidature, the election commission can cancel his candidature, and in that case he is not further entitled to be a candidate of the election. Because a candidate, when he file his nomination paper by giving all necessary information regarding his candidature, the election commission's first and foremost duty is to make it scrutinize, and after having scrutinized all the nomination papers, the election commission published a list of the candidates, and according to that list, the election commission declares the candidates to be eligible for contesting election. And next question, Next question, next point is the polling booths and the role of presiding officers. Polling booths and the role of presiding officers. Presiding officers. You know, there are so many polling booths in the country during the time of conducting election established. From these polling booths, elections are held, and a number of polling officers also are appointed for the conveniences of the work of presiding officer, because presiding officer is the head of any polling booth. And under the presiding officer, polling officers also are supposed to assist his work. So the presiding officer looks after the entire procedure of election before it starts, before the election conducts. It is the first and foremost duty of the presiding officer to consult each and every point with the polling officers regarding regarding his booth, and whether the booth from where the election is going to be conducted, there is any crisis, political crisis, any political tension, any kind of question, of breaking down law and order, and any kind of unavailability of policemen. So each and every point has to be discussed with the polling officers by the presiding officer. If there is any kind of problems arises, in that case the presiding officer of that particular booth has to take a preliminary measure so that the problems are solved and election can be taken from that particular booth. And while conducting election, the presiding officer's role also is very important. Presiding officer has to be careful. The polling officers also has to be careful during the time when voters come to cast their votes, whether the voters have brought their voters identity card, whether voters identity card resembles the list, a voting list, a voters list, whether the voters have any wrong tendency, whether the voter whether the voter abides by the rules and regulations of the voting system. So in that case, the voter is allowed to cast his or her vote. Otherwise, if voter disobeys the system of election, in that case, he may not allow to be a voter, and in that case, he is given warning. He is given warning, and then he is allowed to cast his or her vote. So these are the duties and responsibilities of the polling officer, and presiding officer controls the entire procedure of election from that particular booth. And next point, counting of votes. Counting of votes. Election Commission means counting of votes means whenever the voting procedure is completed, the Election Commission under his disposal takes charges of all boxes, boxes, and these boxes are kept in a particular place of security by with the security charges or security guards. A number of polling booths, a number of polling boxes also are kept where and afterwards the polling officers, this is the first and foremost duty of the polling officers uh, to see and watch over the activities of the security guards. Sometimes he usually comes and see whether they are in their duties, and whenever the dates mentioned, that the date mentioned, the votes will be counted and results will be declared. The polling officer, the presiding officer come and allow them to break the seal, and then all the ballot boxes are taken out from there, and these are supplied. These are given to different boothing centers from where votes are counted by the officers. So by this way, the votes are counted, and ultimately the results are declared. It is the another duty of the the security officers, policemen, to establish peace, because so many people become curious regarding the matter who is going to win the election, and they always show curiosity to learn, to know the result of the vote, when the result is going to be declared. And for that reason, in order to make them peaceful, a number of, from 1 hour or 2 hours later, the results are declared through through the process of miking, so that the people gather in front of the booking center or counting center must come to know the result of the votes. So these are the important works of the election commission and their workers at the time when the election or the result of the election is declared. And next point, declaring of results. Declaring of result is another important responsibilities of the election commission. That means the election commission declares and particular fix. The election commission fixes the date of declaring results of the election, and in that particular date, the election commission and their officers, including the head of any subdivision, means SDO, and district level, this DM, and other executive officers, they take precautionary measure, and they also make a number of policemen, securities, so that the process of counting election can be done very smoothly, because huge gatherings are there. People gather in front of the center from where votes are counted, and people patiently wait there until the result of the vote is being declared. A number of policemen, securities are there in order to maintain law and order, and from 1 or 2 hours later, the results are declared. Through the process of miking from time to time, so that people must come to know what is about the result of the election, or what is about the result of that particular of different booths. So by this way, ultimately, the results of elections are declared, and people come to know about the result with the help of the policemen, with the help of the polling officers and other security officers. And by this way, under the special care of the election commission, the entire procedure of election is held systematically, smoothly, and peacefully. And in order to make sure free and fair election throughout the country, the role of election commission, the role of election commissioners, the role of chief election commissioner, the role of regional election commissioners, and the role of polling officers, the role of the executive, the role of the role of other officers are very important. So ultimately, from one booth, presiding officer who keeps and control the entire procedure of election from each booth, from each center, with the help of the presiding officer, ultimately the results are declared from different booths, and by this way, election commission can conduct free and fair elections smoothly throughout the country, and ultimately elections results are declared. Up to this, my dear students, thank you.